right, thanks a lot, Carly. You know, the impact of social media on children's mental health has been a big concern for parents for a long time. But now the U.S. Surgeon General has decided to get involved.
Dr. Sarah Getch is the executive director of Kansas City University Psychology Program. She joins us this morning with some ways to keep kids safe and mentally healthy. Good morning, Dr. Getch.
Good morning. How are you?
So good to see you. So the Surgeon General's report says up to 95% of kids ages 13 through 17 use a social media platform. Nearly a third of them say they are constantly on social media. So what does that statistics tell us?
Well, it tells us that they're on social media a lot, and some of them from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, they are being bombarded by social media, meaning they're getting messages, direct messages, they're getting notifications, they're seeing what people are posting, they're posting. It just really never ends. It's consuming them from the break of dawn to nighttime.
Yeah, and I was really actually kind of not really surprised and glad to see the Surgeon General make this such a big issue, because I've seen the damage firsthand with my girls. You know, they're teenagers. And I always tell Abby this, that I imagine someday, I hope, 20, 30 years from now, we'll look at, the way that we let kids use phones with the way we look at teens smoking.
Cigarettes,
like we used to think cigarettes were fine, but now we think, what were we thinking?
I'm really glad you said that, because I was thinking about that a lot, and that's exactly the reaction I hope parents are having. This is the same agency that says smoking causes cancer, don't drink while you're pregnant, right? These are the kinds of messages that are coming from the Surgeon General, and now they're saying, we have a problem here. We have a big problem with social media and our children.
Wow. And what kind of content poses the biggest risk for these teenagers?
There's a lot that we still don't know about the relationship between social media and our children. But what we do know is what happens when kids aren't involved in social media. So there have been a couple studies that have shown what happens, and this was in college-aged kids. If you take a break, if you cut it down to 30 minutes a day, those adolescents, I'll call them, in college, they decrease their anxiety and depression by 30%.
Wow.
30%, that's huge. And other studies have shown similar results by cutting it down, to once a day, or cutting it out. There was another study that cut it out entirely for 4 months and showed anywhere from 25% to 45% decrease in anxiety and depression symptoms. Huge. So when you take it away, that's also telling you something. As far as dangerous content, what's most dangerous, we don't really exactly know yet, but there's so much that's dangerous out there, from self-harm videos to predatory behaviors to just constantly comparing themselves to other people. It can be really, really dangerous.
And comparison's difficult for adults. I can't imagine with a young brain trying to find your way through all of that.
You're exactly right. They're at a very susceptible age. From 10 to 19, they're trying to figure out who they are, find their self-identity, find their self-worth. And if the stimuli that they're constantly bombarded with is negative or overly focused on their appearance or things that shouldn't necessarily be important to their self-identity, then we have a big problem.
Yeah.
Man, and so I'm sure you've heard, Sarah, that I believe it's Shawnee Mission, but or is it Olathe?
I know Olathe did this as well.
But there's a lot of school districts that, I think in Los Angeles too, locally and nationally, that are going to try this year to totally cut it out. Is that possible? Is that a pipe dream?
I think it's a pipe dream. I think it's a pipe dream to cut it out entirely, but I like the effort in that we're trying to find limits. We need to find limits. I think where we fall down is thinking that it's only the school's responsibility or it's only the parents' responsibility. There's responsibility all the way around here, from policymakers to parents to schools to parents coming together and deciding how they're going to work through this as a community. We all have a responsibility here.
Wow. It's an important thing to talk about. What do you recommend parents can do to help their children to build that healthier relationship with social media?
So I think back to limits. So let's create a tech-free zone, especially an hour before bedtime, because also what we're seeing is it's not just the social media exposure, it's how it impedes other really important behaviors like sleep, like eating appropriately, exercise, that kinds of thing, those kinds of things. And then also modeling is really important. I say this about parenting all the time.
It's hard.
They're watching.
They're watching you. If you're on your phone, if you're TikToking all the time, then guess what they're going to be doing too. So, that is also a really important action that parents can take.
Yeah, unfortunately, I try to tell my kids exactly what to do, and they end up just doing what I do.
Yeah.
And you see it. You see it mirrored back to you, and you think, oh, We better change that.
Right.
So it's a very
Yes.
good point. Dr. Getch, thank you so much for joining
Well,
us
thanks for
this
having
morning.
me.
It's an important conversation, especially with school coming back into session soon.
That's right. And the Olympics are